Welcome to the Sleepy Stoic Sanctuary, where we explore the highest reaches of ancient philosophical thought and their practical application to the ongoing project of human development and conscious living. Tonight, we journey into the most sophisticated territory of Stoic philosophy, the concept of the sage. The theoretical human being who has achieved perfect virtue, complete wisdom, and unshakable alignment with cosmic reason. This ideal figure represents not merely an abstract philosophical concept, but a practical North Star that guides the development of real human beings who, while never achieving perfection, can make genuine progress toward wisdom, virtue, and authentic flourishing. The Stoic sage embodies the complete integration of the four cardinal virtues: wisdom that sees reality clearly, without distortion from fear or desire; justice that treats all beings according to their nature and needs; courage that faces every challenge with appropriate response rather than reactive emotion; and temperance that maintains perfect balance between engagement and detachment, action and acceptance. Yet the genius of Stoic philosophy lies not in demanding impossible perfection from ordinary humans, but in providing a clear vision of human potential that guides practical progress while maintaining realistic expectations about the ongoing nature of character development. The sage ideal serves as beacon rather than requirement, inspiration rather than judgment, and direction rather than destination. This sophisticated understanding recognizes that while perfect virtue may remain theoretical for most individuals, the pursuit of virtue provides immediate practical benefits and genuine progress toward authentic happiness, meaningful contribution, and unshakable inner peace. The gap between ideal and reality becomes motivation for growth rather than source of discouragement. Tonight's exploration reveals how the sage ideal functions as philosophical GPS for practical living, how the concept of preferred indifference transforms our relationship with wealth, health, and reputation, how rational emotions differ from destructive passions, and how cosmic perspective provides both humility about individual importance and confidence about individual dignity within the larger patterns that govern universal existence. You who seek excellence without perfectionism, progress without self-judgment, and wisdom that bridges idealistic aspiration with realistic application, settle into your bed and prepare to discover how the highest philosophical ideals can inform and inspire daily living without creating the burden of impossible expectations. Close your eyes and let the ancient wisdom about human potential and practical progress guide you toward the authentic excellence that remains available to consciousness committed to virtue, growth, and service. Take 3 aspirational breaths with me now, breathing in the possibility of your highest potential and breathing out any resistance to the patient, ongoing work of character development that moves consciousness toward virtue, wisdom, and authentic excellence. In through your nose, drawing in the inspiration that comes from recognizing human capacity for growth. Hold for a moment in the space of unlimited potential and release slowly through your mouth, letting go of any need to achieve perfection immediately rather than pursuing progress consistently. Feel your body settling into the peaceful rhythm of philosophical aspiration, like a student preparing to study the highest ideals while maintaining realistic expectations about the gradual nature of character development and wisdom acquisition. Your shoulders drop away from your ears, releasing the tension that comes from demanding instant transformation rather than appreciating incremental growth. Starting from the crown of your head, imagine a gentle, perfecting light beginning to flow down through your body. This is the light of philosophical aspiration, the same illumination that guides those who pursue virtue not from perfectionist pressure, but from authentic recognition of human potential for wisdom, character development, and meaningful contribution to universal flourishing. Feel this perfecting light flowing down your forehead, relaxing every muscle in your face, preparing you to receive ancient wisdom about the relationship between philosophical ideals and practical progress, between perfect virtue and realistic advancement, between aspirational excellence and compassionate self-acceptance during the ongoing journey toward authentic human development and conscious living. The perfecting light moves down your neck and shoulders, releasing all tension from impatience with your own character development and replacing it with the gentle persistence that recognizes virtue as lifelong practice rather than single achievement. Your arms grow heavy and relaxed, sinking deeper into the mattress, like someone who has learned to appreciate gradual progress rather than demanding instant perfection. Feel the warm light flowing down through your torso with the patience of authentic philosophical development, relaxing your back, your abdomen, releasing any stress from comparing your current character to impossible ideals, rather than celebrating the genuine advancement that comes through consistent commitment to virtue and wisdom. You are safe here in this moment of philosophical progress, protected by the understanding that excellence develops through practice rather than pressure. The light continues its perfecting journey down through your hips and thighs, warming every muscle, encouraging complete relaxation, like someone who has discovered that the pursuit of virtue provides meaning and satisfaction, even when perfect virtue remains aspirational rather than achieved. Your legs grow heavy, sinking into the bed as if they're resting after making genuine progress on the path toward wisdom, character development, and authentic contribution to human flourishing. Down through your calves and feet, the perfecting light completes its progress-oriented journey, leaving you completely relaxed, completely at peace, completely ready to explore how philosophical ideals inspire practical advancement and how the pursuit of perfect virtue creates authentic improvement, even when perfection itself remains beyond immediate achievement. Your mind grows quiet and philosophically receptive, like a serious student preparing to explore the relationship between perfect ideals and practical progress, between theoretical virtue and lived character development. Like those who pursued the sage ideal, not from perfectionist pressure, but from authentic recognition of human potential for wisdom and authentic excellence. You are ready for whatever advanced insights this exploration will bring to your understanding. You are grounded in this moment of philosophical harmony, yet open to wisdom about navigating the territory between aspiration and achievement that awaits in any life committed to virtue and conscious development. You are safe. You are calm. You are ready to learn how the sage ideal guides practical progress, how preferred indifference transform relationships with external goods, and how cosmic perspective provides both humility and dignity. Your breathing deepens with the rhythm of philosophical advancement, aspirational enough to pursue excellence, realistic enough to appreciate gradual progress, wise enough to understand that the journey toward virtue provides meaning regardless of whether perfect virtue is ever achieved. Like a student preparing to receive sophisticated wisdom about human potential and practical development, you are ready for advanced Stoic theory applied to authentic living. Breathe deeply and let the exploration of the sage ideal, practical progress, and the sophisticated understanding of virtue, emotion, and cosmic citizenship begin to illuminate your own path toward authentic excellence and meaningful contribution. The Stoic sage represents the theoretical culmination of human development, a consciousness that has achieved perfect alignment with virtue, complete freedom from destructive passions, and unshakable wisdom that sees reality without distortion from fear, desire, or ignorance. This ideal figure embodies what human potential looks like when fully actualized through philosophical practice and character development. The sage possesses perfect wisdom that understands the true nature of good and evil, recognizing virtue as the only genuine good and vice as the only real evil, while treating everything else, health and sickness, wealth and poverty, praise and criticism, as indifferent to authentic happiness and meaningful existence. This clarity eliminates the confusion that creates most human suffering through misplaced values and distorted priorities. Perfect justice flows from this wisdom, enabling the sage to treat every being according to their nature and circumstances without favoritism, prejudice, or personal agenda compromising ethical clarity. The sage serves the common good not from emotional sympathy or social pressure, but from rational understanding of cosmic citizenship and individual responsibility within universal order. Unshakable courage characterizes the sage's response to every challenge. Not through reckless bravery or emotional fearlessness, but through perfect understanding of what actually deserves concern versus what remains ultimately beyond personal control. This courage enables appropriate action without the paralysis that comes from excessive caution or the recklessness that results from insufficient consideration. Perfect temperance governs the sage's relationship with every pleasure and every impulse, not through ascetic rejection of enjoyment, but through rational appreciation that never becomes attachment, and disciplined engagement that never becomes compulsion. The sage enjoys what serves virtue while remaining completely free from dependence on any particular experience for happiness or peace. Most remarkably, the sage experiences rational emotions, appropriate feelings that align with accurate perception of reality, while remaining completely free from destructive passions that arise from false judgments about what deserves emotional energy and attachment. Joy accompanies virtue, caution accompanies genuine threats, and appropriate preference guides choices without creating suffering when preferences cannot be fulfilled. The sage ideal reveals human potential for complete freedom through complete alignment with virtue, perfect happiness through perfect wisdom, and unshakable peace through absolute acceptance of cosmic order, while contributing maximally to universal flourishing through character that serves as perfect example of conscious development. Yet this ideal serves not as requirement for happiness, but as inspiration for progress and direction for development that provides genuine benefit, even when perfect achievement remains theoretical rather than practical for most human beings. While the sage ideal provides philosophical direction, the concept of Prokope, meaningful progress toward virtue, addresses the practical reality of actual human development and provides framework for celebrating authentic advancement while maintaining realistic expectations about the gradual nature of character transformation and wisdom acquisition. Prokope recognizes that virtue develops through practice rather than sudden enlightenment, through consistent application of philosophical principles to real circumstances, rather than through theoretical understanding alone. The person making genuine progress demonstrates increasing skill in applying Stoic insights to daily challenges, growing capacity for rational response rather than reactive emotion, and developing reliability in choosing virtue, even when virtue requires sacrifice of immediate pleasure or advantage. Progress manifests in practical ways that can be observed and measured, increasing emotional resilience during setbacks, growing capacity for objective assessment of situations without personal bias distorting perception, developing skill in maintaining appropriate action even when preferred outcomes cannot be achieved, and increasing ability to serve others' welfare even when such service requires personal inconvenience or sacrifice. The advancing student shows greater consistency in applying the dichotomy of control, spending less mental energy on outcomes beyond personal influence, while investing more attention in choices and responses that remain within individual authority. This shift from trying to control circumstances to controlling responses creates immediate improvement in peace of mind and effectiveness in action. Character development becomes evident through increasing alignment between stated values and actual behavior, growing capacity for admitting mistakes without defensive rationalization, and developing genuine concern for virtue over reputation. The person making progress cares more about being good than appearing good, more about acting justly than receiving credit for justice. Emotional maturity emerges through decreasing intensity and duration of destructive passions, while maintaining appropriate emotional responses to genuine concerns. Progress includes developing skill in distinguishing between rational preferences and irrational attachments, between appropriate concern and anxious rumination, between healthy caution and paralyzing fear. Most importantly, Prokope creates his own satisfaction and motivation. The person experiencing genuine character development recognizes intrinsic value in virtue, regardless of external rewards, finds meaning in the process of growth, regardless of whether perfect wisdom is ever achieved, and discovers that progress toward virtue provides authentic happiness, even when circumstances remain challenging. This understanding transforms the relationship with moral and intellectual development from external requirement to internal motivation, from performance for others to genuine character building that serves both individual flourishing and collective welfare through example and contribution. The concept of preferred indifference represents one of Stoicism's most sophisticated contributions to practical philosophy, the recognition that while virtue alone constitutes genuine good and vice alone constitutes genuine evil, this doesn't mean that all external circumstances are equally valuable or that wisdom requires complete indifference to practical matters that affect well-being and effectiveness. Health, while not essential to virtue or happiness in the deepest sense, remains naturally preferable to illness because it typically enables greater service to others and more effective pursuit of meaningful goals. The wise person appropriately prefers health while maintaining equanimity if illness occurs, working skillfully to maintain wellness while accepting the ultimate fragility and temporary nature of physical condition. Wealth, similarly, serves as preferred indifferent because financial resources can enable charitable giving, family support, and freedom to pursue virtue without the distraction of basic survival concerns. Yet the mature person holds wealth lightly, using it as tool for virtue rather than source of identity, enjoying abundance while preparing psychologically for potential loss, and maintaining perspective about money's instrumental rather than intrinsic value. Reputation and social respect function as preferred indifference because good standing in community can enhance opportunities for positive influence and meaningful contribution, while social isolation often limits capacity for service. The wise person appropriately values others' good opinion while never compromising virtue to maintain approval, caring about character that deserves respect while remaining free from anxiety about reputation beyond personal control. This sophisticated approach avoids both the extremes of materialistic attachment and ascetic rejection, recognizing that practical wisdom includes skillful navigation of external circumstances while maintaining internal freedom from dependence on particular outcomes for happiness or self-worth. The mature person engages fully with practical concerns while remaining spiritually unattached to results. The distinction between preferred and dispreferred indifference enables rational decision-making that considers practical consequences while maintaining virtue as the ultimate criterion for choice. When faced with options that don't involve clear moral implications, wisdom naturally chooses what supports health over sickness, financial security over unnecessary hardship, and social harmony over conflict. Yet this preference remains rational rather than emotional, appropriate rather than desperate. The person who understands preferred indifference works intelligently to maintain favorable circumstances while accepting philosophical responsibility for maintaining virtue, regardless of whether such efforts succeed or fail. This understanding creates mature engagement with practical life that avoids both naive idealism and cynical materialism, enabling effective action in the world while maintaining the inner freedom that comes from recognizing virtue as the only reliable source of authentic security and meaningful satisfaction. One of the most misunderstood aspects of Stoic philosophy involves the relationship with emotion, often mischaracterized as emotional suppression when it actually represents emotional wisdom, the cultivation of rational emotions that align with accurate perception while eliminating destructive passions that arise from false judgments about reality and appropriate response. Rational emotions emerge from correct understanding of circumstances and appropriate evaluation of what deserves emotional energy. Joy accompanies genuine achievement and virtue-aligned action because such joy reflects accurate recognition of what actually provides lasting satisfaction. Caution arises in response to genuine threats that require careful navigation because such caution serves protective purposes without creating paralyzing anxiety. Appropriate wish guides rational preference for preferred indifference because such preference acknowledges natural human needs while maintaining freedom from attachment that would create suffering if preferences cannot be fulfilled. These rational emotions support effective action and authentic well-being without creating the internal turbulence that characterizes destructive passions. Destructive passions, by contrast, arise from false judgments about what controls happiness, what deserves desperate attachment, and what threatens authentic security. Fear emerges from treating preferred indifference as essential goods, creating anxiety about outcomes beyond personal control. Anger develops from demanding that reality conform to personal preferences rather than adapting responses to actual circumstances. Excessive joy about external achievements creates vulnerability to equally excessive disappointment when external circumstances change. Grief that extends beyond appropriate sadness becomes destructive when it assumes that external losses can eliminate the sources of meaning and happiness that depend on character rather than circumstances. The cultivation of rational emotions while eliminating destructive passions requires ongoing practice in accurate judgment about what actually deserves emotional investment and what remains appropriately indifferent to authentic well-being. This emotional wisdom develops through philosophical reflection, practical application, and gradual retraining of habitual responses that may have been conditioned by cultural messages rather than rational evaluation. Emotional maturity recognizes that feelings provide important information about values and perceptions, while maintaining authority over how to respond to emotional information. The wise person experiences appropriate emotions without being controlled by inappropriate passions, feels deeply about what matters while remaining free from attachment to what remains ultimately beyond personal control. This sophisticated relationship with emotion enables both authentic engagement with life's joys and sorrows, and philosophical resilience that maintains equilibrium regardless of external circumstances that trigger emotional responses. Rational emotions enhance rather than compromise wisdom, supporting virtue while maintaining the inner freedom that comes from understanding which feelings serve flourishing and which create unnecessary suffering. The goal is emotional authenticity aligned with rational evaluation rather than emotional suppression or unexamined reactivity to circumstances that may not deserve the intensity of response that habit or culture might suggest. The Stoic understanding of cosmic citizenship provides profound perspective on individual life within universal order. Recognizing human consciousness as part of cosmic reason, while maintaining dignity and responsibility that comes from participation in divine rationality that governs all existence according to principles of justice, beauty, and wisdom. This cosmic perspective reveals individual life as simultaneously insignificant within the vast scale of universal existence and profoundly meaningful as conscious participation in cosmic evolution toward greater order, beauty, and wisdom. Each person functions as cosmic citizen whose choices contribute to universal flourishing or universal degradation through character that either aligns with or opposes cosmic reason. The view from cosmic citizenship eliminates both grandiose self-importance and nihilistic despair about individual meaninglessness. Personal challenges that seem overwhelming from individual perspective appear as natural fluctuations within larger patterns when viewed from cosmic scale. While personal character development gains ultimate significance as contribution to universal evolution toward greater wisdom and justice. Cosmic citizenship creates responsibility that transcends narrow self-interest while remaining grounded in practical action within immediate circumstances. The cosmic citizen serves universal welfare through local service, contributes to cosmic justice through personal virtue, and participates in cosmic wisdom through individual character development that reflects and embodies divine rationality. This perspective transforms daily choices from merely personal decisions into acts of cosmic significance, not through grandiose delusion about individual importance, but through accurate recognition that individual virtue or vice contributes to universal patterns that extend far beyond personal lifetime and local circumstances. The cosmic citizen experiences appropriate humility about personal knowledge and capability, while maintaining confidence about personal dignity and responsibility within universal order. This perspective prevents both arrogant assumption of cosmic importance and despairing assumption of cosmic meaninglessness. Death appears from cosmic perspective as natural transition rather than personal catastrophe, individual completion rather than universal loss. The cosmic citizen prepared for death as completion of cosmic service rather than termination of personal existence. Understanding individual consciousness as temporary expression of eternal cosmic reason. Daily life gains sacred dimension through cosmic citizenship without losing practical focus on immediate responsibilities and relationships. The cosmic perspective enhances rather than diminishes engagement with family, work, and community by placing such engagement within larger context that provides ultimate meaning and direction. The cultivation of cosmic perspective requires regular meditation on the scale and beauty of universal order. Contemplation of individual life within cosmic time, and practice in seeing immediate circumstances from the viewpoint of cosmic reason rather than merely personal preference or cultural conditioning. This spiritual dimension of Stoic philosophy provides foundation for both practical wisdom and transcendent meaning that connects individual development with universal evolution toward greater consciousness, justice, and authentic flourishing. The central insight of Stoic philosophy holds that virtue alone constitutes genuine good, because virtue alone remains completely within personal control, cannot be lost through external circumstances, and provides satisfaction that depends on character rather than conditions that remain ultimately unpredictable and temporary. Health, wealth, reputation, and all other external advantages function as preferred indifferents, precisely because they can be lost through circumstances beyond personal control, leaving those who depend on them for happiness vulnerable to suffering that serves no constructive purpose and provides no guarantee of authentic satisfaction, even when external conditions remain favorable. Virtue, by contrast, becomes stronger through challenge, more refined through difficulty, and more valuable through practice. The person who possesses courage cannot lose that courage through external circumstances. Though external circumstances may provide opportunities for courage to be demonstrated or developed further, wisdom gained through experience becomes permanent character enhancement that serves future challenges regardless of specific conditions. Justice, expressed through consistent fair treatment of others, creates character strength that remains available regardless of whether others respond with equal fairness. The just person gains satisfaction from acting according to principle rather than depending on reciprocal treatment for motivation or reward. Character development provides its own intrinsic satisfaction, independent of external validation or favorable outcomes. Temperance, developed through practice with voluntary and involuntary challenges, creates freedom from compulsive desires that often create suffering, regardless of whether such desires can be fulfilled. The temperate person enjoys appropriate pleasures without dependence on particular experiences for happiness, maintaining equanimity whether circumstances provide comfort or require acceptance of discomfort. This understanding transforms the pursuit of virtue from external requirement imposed by society or philosophy into recognition of virtue as the most practical path to authentic happiness, genuine security, and meaningful contribution that serves both individual flourishing and collective welfare. The person who genuinely understands virtue as the only true good experiences profound liberation from anxiety about outcomes beyond personal control, while gaining motivation for character development that provides lasting satisfaction regardless of external circumstances that may change without warning or apparent reason. Virtue becomes both means and end, both path and destination, both process and achievement. The pursuit of virtue provides immediate satisfaction through alignment with human nature's highest potential, while creating character strength that serves future challenges and contributes to universal flourishing through example and direct service. This recognition eliminates the false choice between self-interest and altruism by revealing that individual character development naturally serves collective welfare, that personal virtue contributes to universal justice, and that authentic happiness emerges through living according to principles that honor both individual dignity and cosmic citizenship. Virtue represents the ultimate practical wisdom, investing energy in the only asset that cannot be lost and provides guaranteed returns regardless of external market conditions. For the Stoic sage and the person making genuine progress toward virtue, death represents completion rather than interruption, graduation rather than failure, and natural transition rather than tragic termination of meaningful existence. This perspective transforms mortality from ultimate threat into final opportunity for demonstrating philosophical understanding through practical application under ultimate pressure. Death functions as the comprehensive examination that reveals whether years of philosophical study and character development have created genuine wisdom or remained merely intellectual exercise and social performance. The approach of death clarifies which aspects of philosophical understanding provide actual comfort during genuine threat, and which collapse under pressure of real mortality rather than theoretical contemplation. The person who has genuinely integrated Stoic insights about virtue as the only true good, about external circumstances as ultimately beyond complete control, and about individual life as meaningful participation in cosmic evolution, approaches death with curiosity rather than terror, with gratitude rather than resentment, and with completion rather than desperation. This peaceful relationship with mortality emerges not from denial about death's reality or minimization of natural attachment to life, but from understanding that meaning comes from character development and contribution, rather than from duration of existence or accumulation of experiences that remain ultimately temporary, regardless of how long individual life continues. The daily practice of memento mori, remembering death, serves not morbid fascination with ending, but practical preparation for living with clarity about priorities, urgency about character development, and appreciation for present experience that increases rather than decreases engagement with immediate responsibilities and relationships. Death preparation reveals which forms of legacy provide lasting meaning, external achievements that depend on others, memory and evaluation versus character influence that contributes to universal evolution through example, teaching, and direct service that continues affecting cosmic development long after individual consciousness transitions. The sage understands death as return to cosmic reason from which individual consciousness emerged, natural completion of temporary individual expression of eternal universal principles. This perspective provides both humility about personal significance and confidence about personal dignity within larger patterns that extend far beyond individual existence. For the person making authentic progress, the approach of death provides final opportunity for practicing virtue under circumstances that reveal authentic character without possibility of deception or performance. Death becomes the ultimate test of whether philosophical preparation has created genuine wisdom capable of maintaining virtue when all external supports disappear. A peaceful anticipation of completion motivates present virtue while eliminating desperate attachment to outcomes that remain ultimately beyond personal control. Death consciousness enhances rather than diminishes life engagement by clarifying which activities deserve energy and which merely distract from meaningful character development and authentic contribution. Understanding death as natural completion transforms every day into preparation for graduation, every choice into practice for final examination, and every challenge into training for ultimate test, a philosophical understanding applied under maximum pressure. The Stoic sage and the person making genuine progress toward virtue understand that the most powerful form of teaching occurs through lived demonstration rather than verbal instruction, through character influence rather than intellectual argument, and through authentic example rather than performance designed to impress others or maintain reputation for wisdom. Teaching through example requires the integration of philosophical understanding with daily behavior in ways that demonstrate rather than merely describe what virtue looks like when applied to real circumstances, relationships, and challenges. This authentic demonstration provides more persuasive evidence for philosophical truth than any amount of eloquent explanation or theoretical sophistication. The person committed to virtue as teaching method maintains consistency between stated principles and actual choices, between philosophical ideals and practical responses to difficulty, between public presentation and private character development. This integrity creates natural authority that influences others through attraction rather than coercion, inspiration rather than manipulation. Authentic philosophical influence emerges through responses to adversity that demonstrate practical application of Stoic principles under pressure. When others observe philosophical resilience during genuine hardship, equanimity during setbacks, or virtue maintained despite personal cost, such demonstration provides more convincing evidence for philosophical value than theoretical arguments about virtue's benefits. The teacher, through example, accepts responsibility for modeling the philosophical life while remaining free from attachment to others' response to such modeling. Authentic teaching serves truth rather than teacher, wisdom rather than reputation, and others' development rather than personal validation or recognition for philosophical achievement. This approach recognizes that philosophical influence often operates through subtle transmission that occurs when authentic character interacts with receptive consciousness. Students of virtue learn more through exposure to genuine virtue than through instruction about virtue, more through witnessing philosophical responses than through hearing philosophical explanations. The committed practitioner understands their own character development as contribution to collective human evolution toward greater wisdom, justice, and authentic flourishing. Every choice for virtue over convenience, every response of wisdom rather than reaction, every demonstration of character under pressure contributes to universal progress, regardless of whether immediate observers recognize or appreciate such contribution. Teaching through example also serves the teacher's own development by creating accountability for authentic virtue rather than mere philosophical knowledge, for practical application rather than theoretical understanding, and for character consistency rather than situational ethics that adapt principles to personal convenience. A person who teaches through lived demonstration discovers that authentic virtue naturally attracts those ready for character development, while repelling those committed to convenient mediocrity. This natural selection creates communities of mutual support, for philosophical living, while avoiding the dilution that occurs when philosophical principles accommodate popular preferences, rather than maintaining commitment to truth and virtue. Ultimately, teaching through example serves cosmic evolution by embodying human potential for wisdom, demonstrating possibility for authentic happiness through virtue, and providing evidence that philosophical ideals can be lived rather than merely discussed. While the sage ideal provides philosophical direction and inspiration, the practical application of Stoic wisdom for ordinary humans focuses on progress rather than perfection, improvement rather than achievement, and authentic development rather than theoretical mastery of sophisticated concepts that may remain intellectually interesting but practically inaccessible. The person beginning philosophical development can immediately benefit from applying the dichotomy of control to daily challenges, distinguishing between circumstances that respond to personal effort and circumstances that remain ultimately beyond individual authority. This single practice creates immediate improvement in emotional equilibrium and effectiveness in action. Regular evening reflection on the day's choices and responses accelerates character development by increasing awareness of patterns that serve virtue versus patterns that create unnecessary suffering or compromise ethical integrity. This simple practice requires no special philosophical training while providing practical guidance for ongoing improvement. Morning intention setting creates opportunity for aligning daily activities with deeper values rather than merely reacting to external demands or habitual preferences that may not serve long-term character development or authentic satisfaction. This practice bridges philosophical ideals with practical choices that accumulate into character change. The cultivation of gratitude for preferred indifference, while maintaining perspective about their temporary nature, develops emotional resilience without requiring complex theoretical understanding of sophisticated philosophical distinctions. Simple appreciation for health, relationships, and material security, while avoiding desperate attachment, provides practical wisdom about appropriate relationships with external goods. Voluntary discomfort exercises, choosing occasional inconvenience when comfort is available, build capacity for involuntary challenges while maintaining appreciation for favorable circumstances when they're present. These practices require only willingness to occasionally choose difficulty rather than convenience. The practice of treating others with justice and kindness regardless of their response develops character strength while contributing to collective welfare without requiring perfect virtue or complete elimination of personal preferences and natural human reactions to difficult people and situations. Reading philosophical texts and reflecting on their application to immediate circumstances creates ongoing education in practical wisdom, while maintaining realistic expectations about gradual character development that occurs through consistent practice rather than sudden transformation. Most importantly, the ordinary person can embrace philosophical living as ongoing process rather than achieved state, celebrating genuine progress while maintaining patience with areas requiring continued development, and finding satisfaction in authentic effort toward virtue, rather than demanding immediate achievement of impossible perfection. The philosophical life becomes accessible to anyone willing to commit to daily practice of basic principles that create real improvement in character, relationships, and contribution to others' welfare, while providing authentic satisfaction that depends on choice rather than circumstances beyond personal control. Ordinary virtue practiced consistently creates extraordinary character development that serves both individual flourishing and collective human evolution toward greater wisdom and justice. The pursuit of virtue through philosophical understanding represents humanity's most consistent aspiration across cultures, centuries, and changing external circumstances, demonstrating that the fundamental challenges of character development remain constant, while only surface expressions adapt to particular historical periods and technological conditions. Whether expressed through Stoic philosophy in ancient Rome, Confucian ethics in classical China, Buddhist principles in traditional Asia, or contemporary psychology's focus on character strengths and emotional intelligence, the core recognition that authentic happiness depends more on character than circumstances transcends any particular philosophical system or cultural context. The sage ideal continues inspiring human development, not because perfection is achievable for most individuals, but because the pursuit of excellence in character, wisdom, and virtue provides immediate practical benefits while contributing to collective human evolution toward greater consciousness, justice, and authentic flourishing that serves both individual and universal welfare. Modern research in positive psychology validates ancient insights about virtue's relationship to well-being. Resilience research confirms Stoic teachings about the relationship between meaning and adversity, and studies of human flourishing demonstrate that character development provides more reliable satisfaction than external achievement or material accumulation. The timeless appeal of virtue ethics reflects accurate recognition of human nature's deepest aspirations. The desire for authentic meaning that survives changing circumstances, for genuine security that doesn't depend on controlling outcomes beyond personal authority, and for lasting satisfaction that emerges from character rather than convenience or comfort. Each generation rediscovers the practical wisdom that virtue serves self-interest properly understood, that character development creates resources for navigating uncertainty and challenge, and that authentic contribution to others' welfare naturally emerges from personal alignment with principles that honor both individual dignity and cosmic citizenship. The eternal relevance of philosophical virtue demonstrates that human consciousness possesses unlimited potential for development when guided by wisdom traditions that have tested their insights through centuries of practical application by individuals facing every form of challenge that human existence presents. The sage ideal and the practical path of progress remain available to every generation, every culture, and every individual willing to commit to the ongoing work of character development that transforms both personal experience and collective human potential through lived demonstration of wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance. This philosophical legacy connects contemporary seekers with an unbroken chain of human beings who have discovered that virtue provides the most reliable foundation for authentic happiness, meaningful contribution, and inner peace that remains available regardless of external circumstances that continue changing, while human nature's deepest needs and highest potential remain remarkably consistent across all historical periods. The ancient wisdom remains eternally modern because it addresses permanent features of conscious existence rather than temporary challenges of particular eras. As the eternal flame of philosophical wisdom continues burning across the centuries, illuminating the path toward virtue for all who genuinely seek character development and authentic excellence, you too can rest in the understanding that the pursuit of wisdom provides its own satisfaction, regardless of whether perfect virtue is ever achieved. Tonight, carry with you the sophisticated understanding that the sage ideal inspires progress without demanding perfection, that preferred indifference can be appreciated without attachment, that rational emotions enhance life while destructive passions create unnecessary suffering, and that virtue provides the only reliable foundation for authentic happiness and meaningful contribution. Let the cosmic perspective guide your dreams toward greater alignment with universal principles of justice, wisdom, courage, and temperance. Let the understanding of virtue as true wealth transform your relationship with external circumstances, from dependency to grateful stewardship. Let the recognition of character as unassailable treasure motivate continued development that serves both individual flourishing and collective human evolution. Sleep now with the philosophical peace that comes from understanding human potential for wisdom and the practical path that makes such potential achievable through daily commitment to virtue over convenience, character over circumstances, and authentic progress over perfectionist pressure. Rest well, philosophical seeker. Rest deep, virtue practitioner. Rest in the eternal peace of wisdom, pursued for its own intrinsic value, and the character development that provides meaning, regardless of external achievements or favorable circumstances that remain ultimately beyond complete personal control. The ancient wisdom continues illuminating, and in that light, authentic excellence becomes both aspiration and achievement through daily practice.